Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Today's Weather Tonight. Here, as always, I am Cloud Hudson, your meteorologist for the evening, and we've got a little bit to dig into today, so let's just get started. Let's just jump into it. I'm glad you're back. I got some reviews that folks really liked my ASMR voice portion of my last broadcast. So even though I am not currently whispering to keep people quiet or to keep quiet for the sake of other people trying to sleep, I'm going to do a little bit of this in ASMR voice so that we get a nice sultry introduction to the stream. I'm actually going to put my head on this side of the screen tonight because, as you can see, I've got a new map up. Okay, I'm gonna talk in my regular excited voice now. We've got a new map up on the screen, and that's because I found the USA Today data website has a pretty great visual graphic of all the different wildfires and smoke coming from those wildfires in the country. So, of course, they've got a great map of the actual spread of the wildfires in the Texas Panhandle, just northeast of Amarillo. And they've also got the Smokehouse Creek fire is the one that's still 0% contained. But there are some others that are partially contained. Let's see. Yeah. 60% contained for the Grapevine wildfire, and we're at 20% contained for the Windy Deuce wildfire. Again, I think that people would want to go to the Windy Deuce fire. If I was a volunteer fireman, I would want to go to the one called Windy Deuce instead of the one called Smokehouse Creek. That sounds like, of course, it's going to be full of smoke. Let me go to the Windy Deuce. It sounds like farts. Magenta wildfire is 85% contained. There are also some controlled burns going on. These are prescribed fires that are burned in a controlled manner in order to reduce spontaneous combustion, just so that a fire doesn't sneak up on you. They'll burn it all before the wildfire gets there. The fire service goes in and is like, haha, can't break up with me. I already broke up with you. Or like, you can't fire me. I quit. It's that kind of energy, but for wildfires. You can't be a wildfire. I just burned all the crap. So we've got a lot of that going on south of, well, really in Oklahoma, and as we get to like the border, like this, there's a little wall around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, trying to keep some areas in prescribed fires. These are historical. Some of these are historical though. In the last few weeks, they did have some prescribed burns. I don't have a way to filter this by date, but you can see where they regularly take care of brush. But apparently that was not done up here in the Texas Panhandle or Oklahoma Panhandle, and that's why there's currently seeing wildfires. Fire discovery dates were back in February 26th, the last week of February. So then all these prescribed burns happened right around that time because they were expecting the dry and hot air to come out and really let things ripen up for wildfire season. And as you see, there's tons throughout the Southeast. It's just that they aren't big enough to have they're isolated spots. Like here south of Hattiesburg in Alabama, it's only 100 acres. They've got it mapped, but like it's 1,200 acres, 100 acres, like thousands of acres at a time. But we're looking at nearly 1 million acres in the Texas Panhandle. So that's why that is getting so much coverage right now. even though it's not, there's not nothing happening. And from all these fires, even if they're wildfires or controlled burns, it still creates a mass of smoke. Smoke and atmospheric particulates blowing up through this area. And speaking of this area, today we saw some more severe Midwestern weather. So let's take a look at our um, let's take a look at our observations for today. What were our hazard warnings issued? Currently only have active blizzard and winter storm warnings up here in the Pacific Northwest into Idaho. Idaho today had a really cool thunder snow event, and somebody who submitted their video to the Weather Channel actually got a great thunder snow video, like a video of a lightning strike in the middle of a blizzard. So that's really cool. I don't think I have the rights to show it on stream, but if you check out the Weather Channel's social media, they'll have that really cool video for you. I mean, I'm not so big that they're going to come after me, but I'm not going to risk it. I just want to respect people's property and stuff, I guess. Observations for temperatures. So this will kind of show us, well, actually, I want to look at our dew points. Our dew points will really tell the tale of the kind of severe weather situation that we had set up today. Whenever we have these really steep gradients and these sharp right angle type, when we get a square into, like a squaring off and going from like a square to into a bend. Remember how I talked about how squares are natural? It just like is part of the process of getting a wave to break. This is the wave breaking. This is where we go from a squared off area of different air masses to spiraling into each other. And that's what causes severe weather. Let's see our observed wind gusts that were caused by this. We're gonna get, yeah. So we can see spreading through from the Rockies to the plains, as this squared off wave collapses itself and spirals, it's making those really strong wind gusts up here. Moving out into Canada now, but now we are still looking at some severe weather. They're still looking at like 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts over here in what is that? Milwaukee? That part of Wisconsin. Let's look at our temperature and wind barbs. Wind barbs. Okay, this isn't what. That's not wind barbs. That's temperature and pressure. Well, okay, I see the wind barbs now, but that's a little too hard to read. Let's watch this. Watch this paint spilling, mixing, and you can see how this would be an area that spins up a vortex. There were lots of tornado watches and hail threats throughout Illinois and Wisconsin today. I think it was really like once we get past the Mississippi River is where this area of convection started to, I mean, it really started up here in Minnesota, but then we get the same kind of setup that we got last week when there were those tornadoes right just west of Chicago. And we're not settling down anytime soon because we've still got big, warm, moist air mass intruding from the Gulf of Mexico, what I like to call the Gulf of Moisture. I don't mean to. I just call it that all the time by accident because I mean the moisture from the Gulf of Mexico most of the time. Mixing with this big polar air mass still having thunder, snow, and blizzard conditions here in the Sierras, in the northern Rockies, up into Idaho, Montana, this whole Yellowstone region. Wyoming still in the negative degrees. We've got Wyoming in the negatives, and Texas pushing 90 here. So we have really strong thermal contrast in the country right now, and really strong moisture contrast. And when those line up, when we sandwich such difference in together, that's like having a really low elevation and a really high elevation really close together. Far apart, that's a gently sloping hill. But if you crunch those together, that's a really steep hill. Imagine falling down a hill that like has this slope. You'd go, ooh, okay, I'm not going to twist and tumble that much. But if you fell down a slope that was this big, you are imaginary. This is a comparison, you being the air parcel, and an air parcel getting tripped and turned as it falls down the hill would be the vorticity. Imagine trying to run down a straight downhill. You're gonna fall, twist your ankle, break so many things. That's the tornadoes. Okay. So I'm not running out of analogies, but I just need more. I need more visuals. I need a whiteboard back here, honestly. I need some sort of green screen to be able to gesture towards, because it's very hard to line up my hand motions without being able to like reach up there and touch the maps. So it would be great if I could figure that out. Take a look at where we got some rainfall today. Nope, not forecasts. I want to look at observations. Observed precipitation. There we go. We are looking at excessive rainfall warnings throughout the southeast throughout in the next couple days, though. 24-hour precipitation. Let's go to 72-hour precipitation because we haven't talked about it in a while. You see the lines of storms? Those are those isolated cells raining out through their tracks throughout Wisconsin, and that is showing where we had the severe weather threat, where we have those isolated cells moving in a line. That's where we got all that, all those tornado watches and warnings today. In the past 3 days, we've had some really good soaking events on the East Coast and the West Coast. This has been more in the form of snowfall for the West Coast, though. Let's take a look at that. Not. Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. A 72-hour snowfall analysis for the time that this entire area has been under a blizzard warning shows that they've gotten over 60 inches of snow in the higher elevations of the California Sierras, the Sierra Nevada mountain range here. This is where they've had like whiteout conditions, trucks flipping over, avalanche warning. They even had avalanche warnings. It's that much snow. Still, nothing over here on the Idaho-Wyoming border. This is not insignificant snowfall either, and I bet that Yellowstone National Park looks gorgeous right now with the steaming geysers and the high snowfall. But also interesting, these little streaked areas here that got a lot of severe weather today also having snow. So I wouldn't be surprised if we could see a Wisconsin snow-nado, if not this season, by next season. I think the conditions are changing enough that we're going to be able to see snow-nados soon. That's just, I don't predict much. That's just like my feeling, my intuition, my gut. Now, I'm not telling you what a lot of my gut feelings are about the way things work, because I don't think the world's ready for it. But I do think that volcanoes are not disconnected from wildfires. I feel like it's maybe the earth gets a little hot sometimes. It needs to cool off. Let off some steam. Let's take a look at our currently active volcanoes. We're still at 27 counted as active. Ooh, Phoenix clouds resulted from the pyroclastic flow at Merapi today. What are Phoenix clouds? Let's see this. Oh, it's not gonna say what they mean by a Phoenix cloud, but okay. No, don't give me. Okay. Phoenix clouds resulting from the pyroclastic flow at Merapi today. I wonder if that is condensation on that. Condensation from that. Fernandina volcano. That's a new one we haven't heard much about recently. That's a gorgeous image of the volcano, though. Fernandina, Galapagos Islands, Ecuador. Okay. New eruption commenced at the volcano yesterday. So on March 3rd, we had a new eruption in the Galapagos Islands. Multiple lava flows traveling down the side of the volcano here. That's exciting. Yeah, hey, we didn't not have a volcanic eruption this week. That just because Iceland hasn't technically surfaced doesn't mean that we haven't seen any volcanic eruptions. We've seen an awesome eruption from Fernandina here in the Galapagos. Lava flows have not yet reached the ocean, and it's still uncertain whether they will. It was identified by GOES. Thermal anomaly, NOAA 20, and have recorded 1,000 thermal anomalies during their passage over the Galapagos at those local times. I think that thermal anomalies are more important to look at than we currently give them credit for. I heard somebody saying that, like, it's not a great science to fly a heat-seeking drone over lava flows to try to predict where the next eruption is going to come from. I disagree. I feel like the lava is going to go wherever there's the least amount of pressure and where there's the most amount of energy in order to dissipate pressure fast. That is where the lava is going to go. What I'm saying is magma will surface where there's the path of least resistance. And if we can see some areas where the resistance between the heat center and the air temperature is less, or they're closer. Again, when the energies are closer together, they say more stuff. I'm not making very much sense. Let me take a look at our earthquakes before I start ranting about how important it is to look for thermal anomalies when we're trying to predict wildfires and volcanoes. Let me just stick to the regular stuff. That's what you guys come here for, right? A regular, normal type of weather review. Yeah. Now go to today. Go from yesterday to today. Okay, go all values. I don't know why it doesn't import my settings on these, but I've tried to bookmark it with the right settings and it doesn't quite work. I think it's because I have to change it for every single day that happens. Should put boundaries. Okay, so looking at continued volcanic activity, or tectonic activity at Easter Island, a magnitude 5 at 10 kilometers depth. And then also in the Ecuador, Bolivia, Chile, Argentina region, we've had some more. A few less earthquakes in Central America and southern Mexico, but still in the same areas that we've been seeing activity, like in the Guerrero Beach area. Saw some 3.8 here in Nevada. That's also coincident with the massive snowfall happening in the area. I'm also still not convinced that dumping a bunch of water onto the ground in an area doesn't cause the pressure from above to change. I think that definitely could have they all could have something to do with each other. All right, we had continued ripples of earthquakes moving through Alaska. It looks like we've quieted down here in the Western Pacific just a little bit, just a few in Japan, and continued rumblings in the Philippines and Indonesia. We had this 5.2 and a 5.1 in southern Sumatra, Indonesia. Continued earthquakes in the Owen fracture zone too. This is a continued area of unrest, shallow unrest, and so is the Southwest Indian Ridge. And we still have earthquakes moving through the inflection points in the curve of the plate boundaries through Turkey, like the Turkey-Syria border, and near Greece as well. Still seeing some Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan region, Lake Isikul region, which is where that 7.0 was, still having some shallow earthquakes. Also one here in Qinghai, China, of 5.2. And then down here south of New Zealand, we had a 6.7. That's not a 7.0, but that is pretty significant here at, again, Macquarie Island. Who's out there? What are they doing out there? What business do you have being halfway between Australia and Antarctica? That makes no sense. How do you make a living out there? But a 6.7 at 10 kilometers depth there. And again, yeah, I scrolled over here because I wondered if we've got one here. I feel like we would also have something happening at the South Sandwich Islands, and we have a 4.9, surprisingly not at 10 kilometers depth, because that's where they like to pop up. And also can't ignore the extremely deep quake of 4.6 in the Fiji region. So now that we've gone through our earthquakes, volcanoes, let me go back to Zoom Earth and show you some I've shown you a little bit of weather for today, but I mean, a little weather. You know what I mean. Let's take a look at our global satellite imagery. This is the system that just brought some water through the East Coast and is about to get up into New England. This is the squall line of storms that is still causing some significant severe weather threats, from hail to moderate rain to heavy rain to possible isolated supercells spawning tornadic activity. And then we also have that it doesn't stop at St. Louis. It continues through the Deep South. And remember that the Deep South is famous for having those deadly overnight storms, overnight tornadoes, but I don't think we are currently warned for any severe weather. Well, we're warned for severe weather, but not for tornadoes here in the Deep South. So, and then this is the blizzard that we keep seeing pass through the West Coast. Zooming out, taking a look at our entire satellite image. All right, we've got some really beautiful curves here in the northern Pacific off the Aleutian Islands and this Siberian Peninsula here. Still having a lot of storms in Japan, but pretty quiet now in New Guinea, Philippines, Indonesia region. Still having lots of tropical lows try to form themselves in the Madagascar region. Not sure what's going on there, but this is just a really ripe area for spawning typhoons at the moment. And then we've got some of the same wildfire situations happening globally that we do in Texas. But honestly, Texas is the worst global, worst wildfire globally right now as of acreage reported. Now, there could be issues getting the reports of the other wildfires. So we don't want to say it's the worst, but take a look here where we had that earthquake. We're also seeing some severe weather, some really intense swirling weather. Speaking of near the poles, weird weather, let's take a look at Iceland. They are doing all right now, getting kind of like fed off of this northern sea air mass, so not too cold. But we did over the weekend have a false start with our eruption on the Reykjanes Peninsula because it started to move, but what ended up happening was we only had the formation of a new dike of magma underneath the surface. There's just now a new lake of magma underneath and no eruption to the surface. So the magma is still magma. It's not lava, which is what it would be if it had it had surfaced. Now, let's take a look at our solar weather to see if that explains any of this. Or explains, goes along with, wow, quite a few coronal mass ejections today, the 4th. That would be, we had 9 coronal mass ejections on the 4th, like 5 on the 2nd. We had 5-ish, 4, 5, no, 5 on the 3rd. None of them look too long. Let's see this one. This is 5 seconds long. Let's see how long. See if that could pop much off. I don't know why they're marking this one and not that one, but maybe that one was the shorter one right next to it at the other side. Okay, so quite a few, nothing strong enough to launch a partial halo, but some things with like really high speeds behind them. 0 seconds, but really high speeds. Let's see. Anybody else look interesting over here? I think this will show up better on a corona graph. Let's see. Let's look at our real-time solar activity. 3595 still in a beta gamma formation. What is that right there? Is that a forming hole? Solar protons are pretty low. I mean, look at our X-ray flux, though. Still extremely weirdly low. So ever since those X-class flares, those 3 X-class flares in one day, we've only had like 1 M-class flare. This is just a really low and slow pulling back. I think we are about to get this is pulling the slingshot back, and we're going to be able to see some big launches soon. But as of right now, nothing to look at really. A lot of different sunspot regions, and some of them trying to merge into each other, and a lot of different coronal mass ejections, but not let's see if any of those were like filamentous eruptions. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, take a look at all of these filaments on the edges and on the prominences, and also kind of forming right before our eyes. It's a little hard to see. This is the wavelength you see them best on, but little tornadoes, little rain, little spouting. You can see this is just a whipping itself up into a fury. And look, you can see some of it travel through the magnetic flux lines there. Uh, Not much to speak of eruption wise. We're just kind of boiling, kind of simmering, kind of bubbling. Um, this is the quietude that I expect from the far side of the sun. Um, let's see. With the magnetic flux lines drawn on there. Yeah, really big, not too complex, just really large connections between very distant holes or sunspots, not holes. Um, Not looking too complicated or twisted or unstable. This looks stable like a net, like a mesh, like a ball, like a geode, like a crystal. It doesn't look like I don't know what to tell you, y'all. It's a very active sun, but it's not giving too much. Okay, where's mine? Okay, let's see. Recent social network posts. Moderate G2. Okay, so on Sunday they had quite a shock in the solar wind, and the interplanetary magnetic field was strongly southward. So we did finally get to see some new some new aurora. Let's see who reported some aurora sightings on Sunday. Beautiful. This came from Kiruna, Sweden. Um, that's gorgeous. Here's one from Scotland. Reykjavik yesterday. Here's a time lapse showing the aurora. So even though we've had enough solar wind changes, even though we aren't getting mass ejections headed at us, we are getting enough solar wind changes to, uh, you know, cause some aurora. Finally, I've been doing this 3 months, and it feels like I we've not gotten to see aurora yet. Uh, let's take a look at the history. We're at a pretty low KP index right now. But remember on Saturday night, I was talking to you guys, and I was like, this is really weird. We've got extremely low density and fast solar wind, and it was all in the southern orientation. So yeah, that actually did what we observed together on Saturday night, Sunday morning into Sunday evening did result in some awesome a minor geomagnetic storm, which resulted in some really cool aurora that we can see right here. So that's exciting. That is you know, that's not nothing. Uh but currently there's no noteworthy space weather. Let's take a look at our planets. Planets. So we saw moon through Sagittarius come and go, and it did trigger a new volcanic eruption, just not where we were looking for it. It triggered a volcanic eruption in the where did I say it was? Not Easter Island, the Galapagos. Yeah, in the Galapagos Islands off the coast of Ecuador. We had that volcanic eruption triggered during the Sagittarius moon transit. Now the moon is moving into the signs where it previously was when we had eruptions, but our sun was back in those signs when we had eruptions. So as it moves through the degrees of the events, it's going to pick up all that energy. And I think by the time we get a new moon, there will be something revealed. Something will be unearthed or uncovered or unhidden. Unhidden, you know what I mean. Uh, as the moon moves past the sun for our new moon, because that is also happening at the same time that our Mars is going to square Uranus. Mars in Aquarius squaring Uranus and Taurus. And I think the moon's going to take this energy of Pluto, Mars squaring Uranus, and Venus is really squaring Uranus more than Mars is right now, into the sign of Pisces, where we have 4 planets: Saturn, Sun, Mercury, and Neptune, and deposit all of the energy it's picked up from there. I don't know, guys. I feel like maybe this weekend is when we see the eruption. That's really all I want to talk about with this with this current configuration, because there's a lot when there's a stellium in Pisces, there's a lot that needs to be unsaid, and I don't want to say things out loud too much if they need to remain unsaid. So just do some research about what Pisces and Saturn and Neptune and Mercury and the sun are all like. And I think you'll understand what I'm trying to say I don't want to talk too much about what's going on here, because I feel like it's deeply personal for a lot of people. Anything with Pisces in your chart, look at that and see how that's feeling for you. But I mean, it is sextiling sweetly to Jupiter and Uranus. I just don't like that Jupiter and Uranus are coming into their conjunction era. They've been co-present the whole time in like different decans of Taurus, but now they are both in the same decan, and I think the pressure is intensifying on what this is going to mean and what this is going to mean together. So here we go. It's happening. 2024. Here we go. It's that's my message. Is it's coming. It's not just coming. It's already here. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Oh no, can't be a good sign. Just gonna draw a quick card. This is for the cosmic weather. Again, we've been through the fire, water, earth, air weather, and now we're going for soul weather. What's the weather from the cosmos? What is the weather from the realm that we currently don't detect materially, allegedly? Okay. All right. This is a nice, dreamy, fluffy, cloudy little card. Whatever abundance I seek is mine. It is law. That says, whatever I desire and then allow, I must experience. There's no exception to that. As I hold myself in vibrational alignment with my own desire, I will experience in all ways the fulfillment of that desire. So, it's coming. It's coming. It's here. It's already happening. Things have already started happening. Just go with it. I don't know what to tell you other than you are calling in the abundance of what you want, even if it's what you fear. Even if you think the thing you're calling in is what you're fearing, you're still calling it in by putting energy towards imagining it. So you're calling in the abundance of that. You're calling in the abundance of fear the more you worry about something. So it's more likely to happen. So stop worrying and start focusing on what you do want to call in. Because it's law. It's not like good or bad. You deserve it or you don't deserve it. It's the amount of energy you put behind a thought and a reality that you can create with the attention, intention, and action in the material world. Whatever I desire and then allow, I must experience. I must experience that. There is no exception to that. As I hold myself in vibrational alignment with my own desire, I will experience in all ways the fulfillment of that desire. So, there we go. There we go. That's where I'm leaving it with that one. I'm not going into the tarot or the liminal space today because there's a lot there, and I want to keep this broadcast positive. So we're not going to dig too deep. We're just going to say, whatever abundance you seek is yours, and it's coming. It's what you get when you want it. When you ask for that, that's what you get. Okay. I love you all very much. I hope that you're taking care of yourselves and each other. Thank you so much for coming back to a broadcast again of Today's Weather Tonight. I will see y'all tomorrow in the next episode. Bye. Have a great evening.